For the first time, Logan and I are right about something with the ATP Finals. And for the first time in history, Canada wins the Davis Cup. Welcome to episode 11 of the Bagels and Breadsticks podcast. I'm Richard.
And I am Logan.
And we got it right this time.
I know, it's exciting. It's exciting. Oh my gosh, after last week's predictions kind of fell out, we were a bit shaky coming into this one. But
I will say, when it comes to the Ruud Rublev, let's start there with that semifinal.
Okay, yes.
We were really right when it comes to if it kind of relied on Ruud and how he was going to play, how he was going to counter Rublev's game, and he did very well
he came
to
out,
do that.
Man. He came out to play that game. I was really impressed with his performance there. I remember I found out not because I was watching the game. I watched the game kind of after I saw it in the finals. I was like, what? I have to go back and I have to look. I have to go back and see what happened. And that was really fun to kind of like see how he ended up sort of taking that game.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair, that was something we kind of were only sort of expecting, not really, because we just mainly made the prediction that the outcome was based on Ruud, and the outcome was based on Ruud.
Yeah,
so.
I think we were really right in that respect, and I think Casper really played his butt off that match, and it really did come down to how he was going to counter Rublev's game, and he did a very good job with that, not allowing Rublev to take that many chances to weaponize that forehand the way that we said he really needed to. And, I mean, above all, we were right in the final. I mean, that was kind of inevitable.
Poor Casper, though. This is like his third time finishing second at like a really important tournament like this year. He finished second at the French. He finished second at US Open, and now he's finished second at the ATP Finals, which is amazing for him. But at the same time, that's such a cruel pattern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
But, I mean, it's been 4 big finals lost this year for Casper, and I mean, that shows two things. I mean, for starters, it shows that he can get there.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it also kind of worries me, because then there's also the side of, can he close it out?
Yeah.
And, I mean, clearly, unfortunately, this year, he hasn't been the best closer. 4 big finals. I don't know how many big titles he won. I think he might have won a Masters 1000 this year, but alas, I think when you look at between the 2 Grand Slam finals and then the ATP Tour final, and also a Masters 1000 that I think he lost to Carlos as well, somewhere throughout the year, I think it's been pretty tough for him, but I think he has really proved that he can do it, and
that he can sort of be among this sort of realm of players.
I'm excited to see what he can do next year.
Me too.
When it comes to Novak, I mean, really, really inevitable. Yeah. I mean, we kind of expected it because he is that good.
Well, I think what the quality that I think sets Novak apart from Ruud in this case is the fact that Djokovic is just a fortress, and Ruud kind of is not able to gain a momentum to kind of play off of. I think he's more here and there, kind of like with his like. Does that make any sense? With the way that he plays, I feel like it's not based on any sort of momentum. It's always like here and there, and kind of if he's like able to, like we always talk about.
Kind of how he's feeling it that day.
Yeah. What side of the bed he wakes up on, and how hot it is outside.
But I think with every player, and this continues for Ruud, is it does always help mentally when you are on a good momentum streak. Yeah. And I mean, for him though, I think the difference is, I feel like with Ruud, his momentum doesn't carry from tournament to tournament. It goes based off of the tournament he's in. And if he wins those first 2-3 matches well enough, then it'll keep him mentally going to keep going further on. And then at that point, it just comes down to who's the better player and how well he can play on a given day. Yeah. And like you said, kind of what side of the bed he wakes up on, how he's feeling that day. Yeah. And that's a lot of times what it comes down to, I feel like, when it comes to him.
And that's tricky, but I think, looking into the 2023 season and seeing how, because he did play very well this season, I think I hope that he starts waking up on the right side of the bed just a little more,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's been a really good season, though, for him to prove to himself what he's capable of, and that's always really important.
Yeah, that's really important.
Because mentally, you need to be able to know that you can stay up at that high level, and it's been really difficult because when you look at the big three and their dominance over the last few years, then it's kind of hard to be up there because there's not many guys that have gotten those Grand Slams, those majors that really give you a kick in the butt. But, I mean, you look at Thiem, if he didn't have the injury. If you look at Medvedev, if you look at Alcaraz, more Medvedev, more so than Alcaraz, but because Alcaraz still has time after his major win, but Medvedev has stayed up there, and I think, I do think, honestly, the one major does have something to play into it, because it really does prove to someone that you can stay up there. Especially the fact that he beat Novak in that final is even more proof to him, I think.
Oh, 100%.
That he can do it, so...
Yeah. He prevented Novak from getting his from completing his sort of slam run that year, which was so silly. But yeah, no. Speaking kind of Novak, I think this is a good thing, because now in the future when we make these kinds of predictions, we can always come back and be like, well, we were right about the finals. Not to say that we Ruud is but I mean, because he played a good game, I mean, it was 7-5 for the first set, and the second was 6-3. He fought and put up they had a really good match, but I mean,
Novak's gonna be Novak, and it's really, really hard to take him down, and especially when he's really feeling it. And I don't know, just Novak is always going to be hard to beat, and it's still really impressive to me that he's getting up into those mid-30s and he's still performing at such a high level and not stopping, and he's competing, most importantly physically, he's really competing and staying up there with the young guys, like your Tsitsipas or Ruud or who not, You look at Rafa and Roger, and their past years were plagued with a few injuries. You look at Novak, and he's been really physically fit, and that's really impressive for someone that's getting up into his mid-30s.
Yeah. It really has been. He's been taking his gummy vitamins every morning. Make sure that he'll be able to perform well on that court and be as flexible and as fast as we kind of know he is.
Yeah. But in speaking of the next gen, let's talk about the next gen players that just carried to a Davis Cup victory.
Yeah.
Team Canada, led by Felix Auger-Aliassime and Denis Shapovalov, just won, and I'm just shocked.
Well, if you were to tell me, okay, on paper, present to me the situation of, Team Canada, and you'd say Chapo and Felix, then I would kind of be like, okay, they have a good chance at winning, but neither of them, I don't know, have really finished this season. I mean, Felix has done wonders, but he kind of had his run cut a little short in the finals. So I think there's a bit of irony there, but it's fun. Yeah. I'm happy for them that they ended up carrying Team Canada to victory. Yeah, that's exciting.
So Canada, led by Felix and Chapo, also had Vasek Pospisil, who we know, very strong player. I'm really happy to see Pospisil doing well. They took down Team Australia, led by Alex de Minaur, Jordan Thompson, Kokkinakis, and then the doubles legends of Max Purcell and Matt Ebden. I mean, that's a very strong Australian team.
That is.
But also, when you look at the recent form of Felix and how well Chapo's been doing, I am not entirely surprised. But I think that says something about where we're going, that most of these teams are very young. You have de Minaur, you have Felix, you have Chapo. I mean, what do you think of these teams, and does it make sense to you that they made this far? To me, it does.
I think so. Oh my gosh, Leighton Hewitt was the captain.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would expect that. I mean, Alex has had a great run recently too. I mean, I remember he took out Medvedev quite early in Paris. Those are great rosters. I don't know what else to say. I mean,
personally, for the Australians, I wish we saw Nick. I think Nick would have been a big
I was
game
thinking
changer.
that.
Also, having Special K as your doubles pair between Kyrgios and Kokkinakis would be really, really fun. But I think
Special K.
I think it's really, really good for the sport. I mean, you look at these other teams, and they are mostly, except for the Americans, led by some pretty young, some pretty older, more seasoned players. You look at Croatia, led by Cilic. You look at you look at Spain with Carreño Busta and Batista Gut. You have guys that are leading the charge that are a bit more seasoned, and then you look at these younger guys, and it's really good. I mean, it's been a common theme throughout the last few episodes of how good it is going into next year to see how well the young guns have been doing, because it's really important that they've been doing well, so we know that,
Oh yeah, 100%.
When the big three and when that era of players that we grew up watching steps down, then there's somebody there to take the reins.
Right. Especially since I want to see a better overall performance from a lot of those players in 2023. So seeing them kind of win this Davis Cup is it gives me a bit of confidence there. You know what I mean?
I think 2023 is for a future episode, but I think it's time to take a look back onto 2022.
Okay, let's do it.
I think I think we should start with the Masters 1000s. On the men's side, some big winners, some first-time winners. You had Taylor Fritz win Indian Wells. I mean, I loved watching that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was huge, especially it's Indian Wells. It's home turf. I think that was a really huge tournament for him,
especially beating Rafa in the final. And I think it was just a momentum starter for him. Just kind of good proof for him that he can play at that level.
Right.
I think we saw a big mental shift with Taylor after he won Indian Wells, kind of more confidence, more belief in himself, and it proved for a really, really good year for him.
Right, because I think we kind of neglected that when we initially made our ATP Finals predictions, because he ended up coming into the ATP Finals performing very well, and now that you kind of mention it and put it in my head, I think it kind of was due to some of the success that he sort of saw there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Next was Miami. That completes the Sunshine Double. That was won by Carlos Alcaraz on the men's side. I mean, again, really, really good for Carlos. Big momentum shifter for him. I think that was really... I mean, we had started hearing about him earlier, but I think this was a big, again, like Taylor, momentum shift, kind of more belief in himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think it was really, really good to see from him. The Sunshine Double on the women's side being won both by Iga Swiatek, continuing what would become a 37-match win streak. That was huge.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
I mean...
It's needless to say that was huge. I mean, she just had, like, a huge year overall, claiming the lives of many of these tournaments. we looked up earlier... WTA Masters 1000, and it just showed Iga Swiatek's name in bold at the top of the page, and not even really anything else. So I think that says enough, really, about sort of about the WTA this year.
Yeah. But moving on, you had Monte Carlo, where a familiar face stepped back up to the plate. Stefanos Tsitsipas wins that one over Davidovich Fokina. I think I forgot to mention this. One quick thing that I wanted to mention is that John Isner won the Sunshine Double in doubles, which was very fun to watch for me. It's really interesting for me, in my opinion, when you watch such strong singles players transition into doubles and do really well.
Okay, but I always thought that John Isner would be, like, awesome at doubles, you know?
Yeah.
Because of, like, his archetype, you know? And
but you look at kind of, like you said, the archetype, the big serve, big forehand, can play. He proved to us that he can play up at net. The real important things, reflexes, good strategy. I mean, that's really what it mostly comes down to in doubles. Is having the right tennis IQ, having a strong serve to set up points. Because when you look at doubles, it's not as much winners, it's more outlasting, because you have two people covering a court, so it's not as easy to get a winner in that situation. So I think it was really interesting to see him transition, but he did really well. But going back, Monte Carlo, Tsitsipas defeats Davidovich Fokina. Madrid, Carlos Alcaraz defeats Zverev. Rome, Novak defeats Tsitsipas. The kind of threesome of clay court titles.
Wait, was that our last Zverev appearance in these major tournaments for this year?
I think so. Well, at least when it comes to the finalists.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
On the women's side, you have Madrid, was won by Ons Jabeur. That was a big win for her. Followed up by Italy in the Italian Open in Rome. That Iga won over Ons. I remember that final specifically was really, really special because you had Ons coming off of really awesome momentum. And Iga, who was still on that win streak. And there was just a big question of who was going to win. Because I was coming off of that big win in Madrid. And Iga was just playing like herself. I mean, what else can be said? But I think it was really, really good.
And she took that 6-2, 6-2. Wow.
Over Jabeur.
Yeah.
Going back to the men's side, we're going to keep like flipping over the line here. But Madrid is where Alcaraz really, really solidified his name. I mean, Miami was a start. It kind of showed that he was really good on those hard courts. And it was going to be interesting to see how he transitioned onto the slower clay courts. And he did really, really well. One in Madrid really kind of solidified his name at the top.
Which surprised me because like I think maybe you can agree with me here that his technique and the way he hits balls kind of doesn't favor clay as much. So kind of to see him like play and do that well on clay was really astounding, sort of see his well-roundedness kind of form as a player, especially with how young he is, to sort of see him be able to use that to conquer other players like Zverev. And he beats Zverev 6-3, 6-1.
No, definitely. Man. I mean, it's a big win. And like you said, it does feel like the hard court suits him best. I mean, that's, I think, why he did so well at the U.S. Open. But
he hits fast and long,
exactly.
You know?
Transitioning into the clay court, it was really, really interesting and really, really great to see how well he did with the transition. Because that can be difficult sometimes, especially when you play, like you said, really, really quickly, really fast. Moving on, in Montreal, in the U.S. Open swing, you had... the North American swing. You had Paulo Carreño defeats Hurkacz for his first Masters 1000. And then in Cincinnati, Borna Coric beats Tsitsipas. I remember that craziness.
Yeah, that was wacky.
Let's start off with how you feel about those two guys. I mean, I remember Carreño played amazingly in that tournament. He did well the entire tournament.
Yes, he did.
Big surprise, I think. I mean, Hurkacz was the favorite going in. Definitely who I was hoping for.
I was about to say he was your favorite going in.
I mean, but alas, still, Carreño I watched that match. It was amazing. He played so well the entire tournament. And he had a great comeback in that match. Really, really just a big momentum shift again for him. I remember how well he did going out of that tournament. And I don't know, I think it was an important win for him because he was always kind of drifting in that top 30, and then to finally get that big win was a big
that was kind of like foot in the door territory for him in terms of sort of games. I agree.
And Borna Coric, I thought this was going to come a lot earlier.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of foot in the door.
But I thought it was going to come a lot earlier, but he waited long enough, and he waited and got there. But what do you make of the fact that of the 8, I think, Masters this year, 5 of them won by new players. We'll get to that 5th one in a second.
It's exciting. I think if anything, I think the Spanish are happy with how things turned out for them this year. But also, it's exciting for the realm of the sport. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, kind of like the presence of new young faces, sort of in these higher, more
or just
complex
new faces
arenas.
To the top. Doesn't have to be young in the case of Carreño and Coric.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But when you look,
I was mainly going for young as to the next.
Yeah, but when you look at the women's side of the North American swing, the Canadian Open this time in Toronto, Simona Halep defeats Beatriz Haddad Maia. What an amazing week it was for Haddad Maia. She was really, really gaining some momentum throughout the year, and it was.
And then she just arrived, here in sort of the top session of players.
100%. And then you look at Cincinnati, and this was the real start for Caroline Garcia. Beats Petra Kvitova in the final. I mean, another player who had been building kind of
She'd
momentum.
seen really good glimpses of success earlier in the year, but that was huge for her, I think.
Yeah. I mean, following up the Poland Open in Warsaw, she came to Cincinnati and made a real big splash in that pool and did really, really great throughout the entire tournament. Was solid all week. And, yeah. I mean, what the heck are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because you made a pun and it was funny. She made a splash.
I wasn't playing on a pun. All right, but the final Masters 1000s of the year for both sides. Paris won by Holger Rune.
That's who I was talking about.
Let's get to the women first because we have a lot to say about Holger Rune in that win.
Okay.
Jessie Pegula wins the Guadalajara Open. She had a great year. She really had a great year. Rose really quickly through the ranks, got up to that top 5 spot. And she 100% deserved it. Not fully shown by the WTA Finals result, but she had a phenomenal year. In both singles and doubles with Coco Gauff. I think we'll get to her soon. But a really, really awesome year for Jessie Pegula.
Oh yeah, 100%. She still finished strong, even though her performance at the WTA Finals was, how should we put it? Not necessarily just like
less than what she hoped for,
less than what we expected. But I mean, hey, this is still like huge for her, finishing sort of like in this upper category of players, and that's really awesome for her.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what she does next year. About sort of remaining sort of in this like top 5 arena, and seeing sort of how she handles that.
Yeah.
But I expect her to handle it well, despite everything. I expect it to, continue to be this way.
Yeah. But let's move over to Paris.
Speaking
and Holger Rune.
Yeah, we talk.
What an awesome end to a year! If you want to talk about ending a year strong,
I was gonna say we talk
look
about
no further.
We talk about promising players for next year. We talk about momentum, and all of these topics, they culminate on this one player, Holger Rune, who I think has experienced both of those things quite a lot. I mean, he is okay. His Paris run alone, he got like the hardest like placement ever, and he was beating he beat, how many top 10 players did he beat? How many?
I have no idea.
But he beat like one after the other.
Every round except for his first round, which was against Wawrinka. So again, no small feat.
Yeah, the multi slam title winner.
I mean, again, Wawrinka winning multiple slams in an era of the big 3.
Yes,
needs to be added on.
Oh my gosh. End. Yeah,
but
I'm okay.
Continue.
Yeah, no, and we don't talk about Wawrinka enough. Sorry, but like we go to the final, and he takes out Novak Djokovic. That was We've been wrong a lot of times on this podcast, but that was one time where we.
I will say I think that's something to be said though about the beauty of the sport.
Oh yeah,
that we can say all the predictions and expectations that we want to say, but oh boy, we can be wrong so many times. I mean,
oh yeah,
there's always expectation and prediction, and that's all good and well. But then there's what actually happens, and it's really, really great because you're never fully right, and there's always surprises and there's always fun, and I think that's with every sport, but for sure with tennis as well.
If you want to talk about surprises, if you want to turn our lens to the WTA finals for just a couple minutes, I'm
shock and awe of Arina Sabalenka.
Yeah.
No words. No words. It can describe just how impressive her finals run was.
That's the perfect word for it. Was impressive.
She wasn't favored to win, and she just came in and shocked everyone.
Yeah,
and did so well, just across the board, so well.
I love that for her. That's phenomenal. But
there's not much else to be said. It was very surprising and very impressive, and I don't know. No one expected her to go as far as she did. But I think if you look at how well she played across the weeks, it was pretty fitting. And then Caroline Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
That was semi-expected. After the year she had, after that second half of the year she had, it was semi-expected that she would do as well as she did.
Right. I always thought, I had a suspicion that of any of kind of the upsets that could have happened in those semis, that she would be at the top of it.
Garcia over Sakari, yeah.
Yeah. And so we did see that, and then we saw her take the tournament, and that's super exciting for her.
Yeah,
that's super exciting for her. And that's we get the best of both worlds. We land somewhere in the expected. Iga, coming out as the year-end number 1, right? Something that we thought would happen. With just reason.
Yeah.
But, and then something that was kind of surprising, Garcia and Sabalenka, doing so well, and making it to the finals and having a really good match, and we seeing a new WTA finals champion.
Yeah. But on both ends of
yes.
Garcia and Sabalenka, they were absent from one place that was unfortunate but surprising, was the finals of a major. And that's where we're going next. Australian Open, Nadal beats Medvedev. And then Ash Barty beats Danielle Collins. I mean, let's take ourselves back to January 2022.
We were so unknowing back then.
I mean, I was ready for just a year of Ash Barty domination.
I was also ready for year of the Ash Barty.
I mean, the way that she plays is, I don't know, it's very weird because there's such strength and such kind of like...
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. She plays so fittingly well for the women's tour. Like, it's so hard. It was always so hard to beat her.
Yeah.
And I can't put my finger on it. I need to go back and watch more of it because I'm trying to nail down one specific part. With Iga, it was I think we were talking about spin and the movement. Yeah. It was always the movement. She strikes the ball very hard. I mean, that can be said for a lot of players, but her movement was always so good. And you look at Ash Barty, she moves very well. She's a very all-around player. She strikes the ball well, solid on every end. She's a good doubles player, which leads into good reflexes.
Yeah.
But just so good, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, if she was going to bookend with any tournament win,
yes,
I'm glad that it was the Australian Open.
I was literally thinking that was literally, I was going to say
because
that.
Because boy, did the Aussies need an Aussie woman to win the Australian Open. And Ash Barty was there to give it to them. And I'm glad that they were able to get it before she decided to step down.
Yes.
But with that said, Danielle Collins...
She definitely had that in mind for her capstone.
Danielle Collins.
Yes.
What? She shocked me at the AO. I wasn't expecting her to do that well.
I wasn't
and for her
either.
to make the finals. Yeah. But you know what? UVA strong. The Virginia grad showing that on the women's tour, playing college tennis can be a really good thing. I remember Danielle Collins was a standout at the University of Virginia, and she was so solid throughout her college career. And then, she came in and it was great for her, but I will say we haven't seen much of her since then, which is a little bit disappointing. On the men's side, Rafa beat Daniil Medvedev. How do we feel about that one?
Strange but happy. I think if that could sum it up better than anything else, because Daniil is such a strong player, such a strong hardcourt player. But Rafa's Rafa. So I think it kind of would have been like a toss up for me mentally to begin with. I don't know what my mindset was going at looking at that final as it was happening, but I'm happy that Rafa is managing to scoop up more and more tournament and major wins. Especially since we both kind of predict, me and Richard, that his career will kind of eclipse in the next couple of years.
Yeah. But, the Australian Open gave him Grand Slam number 21.
Huge.
Out of 22. Yeah. And speaking of 22, he went back-to-back at the French Open.
Yes, he
did.
Which,
God, zero surprises.
No. That one I would have taken him over anybody.
So expected. If this was a horse derby and you had a healthy Rafa Nadal even at 36, is he 36? Is that a really, really stupidly accurate guess? Oh my god,
he is 36.
I'm not even gonna lie. I wasn't even looking. I had no idea he was 36. I thought he was 35. But like a healthy 36-year-old Rafa against the field, I'm putting every penny I got on Rafa to win the whole damn thing.
He's got, the technique, he's got the experience, he's got, clay court prowess, he's got the fans, he's got everything. And I don't know.
Yeah, he's also got a very, very... I mean, this has been a constant throughout his entire career, but let's harp on it one more time while we still got him on tour. I mean, his game is so well suited to the clay.
It is.
Very loopy, very quick. He's... I mean, when you look at Iga, there's a lot of similarities to say there, and I mean, fitting that she won on the women's side.
Well, she's no stranger either to winning the French Open.
Very good movement, great topspin that bounces really well and suits them well when it bounces off the clay. High loopy bounce, it's going to throw players off, but it fits so well. You have to be a good mover if you're going to play well on clay, because the slow ball is going to allow you time to get there, and if you can move really well, that's going to hand you well. And then there you go. We move on to the women's side.
Wait, if I may, we're talking about experience on clay, and sort of, I think that there's a poeticism we have to talk about, with Casper Ruud being the runner-up for that.
There is a big poeticism.
Because, I mean, there is, like, he's a part of the Rafael Nadal Academy, right?
Yeah.
They literally came back from Argentina together, and I saw a video of them, like, kicking a soccer ball around together.
Yeah.
Like, and also... He is probably the first person that comes to mind as like the future domineering clay court player, sort of, if that makes sense to you at all. But to me, because I think, well, he has so much experience on it, and I think most of his like wins, most of his like good and meaningful success has come from the clay.
Yes. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think I can look at anyone in our quote unquote next gen and say that they will dominate clay.
Oh, I didn't say he was going to be the next Rafa.
I know, but no, not even Rafa. Yeah. No. Take 7 levels down, and I still don't think we'll have anybody that dominates clay. Period.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any longer, I think, a face that is still on tour that you kind of look at and is like, when you think of clay, this is the name that pops in your mind. Like, I don't think we're going to have that anymore, because you look at the field and anyone can do well on clay. And that's really nice. I mean, this was, I think, the first or second of a slew of big finals losses for Casper Ruud.
It was, yeah.
But I think this is the only one where let's be completely frank, I don't think he had much of a chance to begin with.
He was going up against Rafa, but you're right though.
When you look at all of his other finals losses, I think there was a larger margin where he could win than this one. This was his worst chance. Like, if of all 4, there was one that you had to guarantee.
Well, wasn't this his first major presence though?
It was his first major final. Which was very nice to see. But beyond that, let's say he had made his 3rd major final. You're going up against somebody who had won this tournament 13 times. 13. Let's just sulk on that for 5 seconds. 13. And this makes 14. Like, there's a loss of words.
Like, you're just another name in the victory bin, for Rafa at that point.
That's really sad but true, that there is now you can create a bin of people that have lost to him.
Yeah.
At the French. Between Ferrer and Djokovic and Roger and now Casper Ruud, and I don't even know who else he's beaten. There's a slew of other names, and just, oh my gosh. I mean, he beat Roger a lot there. I mean, I think 3, 4, I think about 4 times. So let's, sorry, Wawrinka, Thiem, Ruud, Djokovic, Ferrer. I mean, there's Soderling. Sorry, I mean, there's so many
great names in his bin.
I mean, the thing is, regardless of if he retires this season or next season or whenever, the impact he is leaving on this tour is immeasurable.
Oh,
not only this tour, but the women's tour as well. Because let's jump to the women now.
Yes, let's do that.
Because Iga, her idol growing up was Rafa Nadal, which I think is very fitting when you look at the way she plays. Quick movement, heavy topspin on that forehand. Just very, very strong. And I think something that needs to be also mentioned as well is I really like her second serve. It's not strong, it's not fast, but it has so much kick. And it's so good to set her up because she has strong ground strokes that she can penetrate with. So if her second serve lands with the amount of kick that she can put on it, it's a great setup to really penetrate with those ground strokes. So I think it's really fitting that the two of them won the French Open. Like you said, no stranger to winning the French Open. That's where she won her first title of her entire career professionally back in 2020 when there was an empty stadium. A delayed French Open.
Yep. I remember that it was delayed. And I almost forgot that it was delayed.
And defeating a Sophia Kenin, who had won the Australian Open earlier that year, and then after this tournament, I mean, in the last year, really kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But commonalities beat an American again, Coco Gauff this time. What do you make of that final? Because I hope personally, I hope that this final is a showing of what is to come, because seeing Coco see major success, seeing the younger players really usher in, kind of making Azarenka and Halep and Muguruza and all them and Kvitova kind of step aside. Was really, really great to see.
No, and, I agree 100%. I think, Coco, this tournament aside, has seen a lot of, good success this year. I mean, especially in doubles, we've talked about, her doubles, sort of standards throughout the year. But, I mean, and going off of, patterns, Iga won the French Open the first time when she was younger than I am now, and I think that that we're gonna see really high performing, stuff from these players going forward. I just hope that Coco does something like this at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
I feel like that the energy of the U.S. Open could, I don't know, carry her a little further.
I do agree. The American crowd is something to behold, really.
Yeah.
What I think is really jarring when you look at back at Coco's year is that she didn't win any singles titles, but she still ended within the top 5 and as a big name for the season. She finished with 3 doubles titles, 0 singles titles. I mean, I think, just like I said,
But she's been there,
That's what I mean. She's been such a constant and so consistent of making deep runs in tournaments that I think is really impressive that she still stayed within the top 5 with no titles across the entire year. So I think when you look at Coco, it's now how well can she do closing it out. She's made a lot of finals, a lot of semifinals, a lot of quarterfinals. How well can she close it out now? And I think this year was a great experience for her, and next year I think could be even better.
No, I agree 100%. Because if she manages to kind of surmount that, get some singles victories, she's gonna be higher, than she is now, and that's a very interesting thought. I'm excited for that.
So I just looked at what major we have next. And, oh boy, let's start with the women. Elena Rybakina. That's it. Thanks, guys, for listening. That's it.
All right, Elena. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Elena Rybakina. What on earth did she do? Just shock. Personally, I was watching I followed the tournament. I was at work just watching the tournament, following it throughout the entire run. And I like, from the fan perspective, you kind of root for Ons Jabeur because she had been doing so well with the win in Madrid, finals in Rome, had been so solid throughout the entire year, and you kind of root for her. Also because she's such a likable person on tour, but she did so well. But Rybakina came out firing cannons, and I think what served her so well in this final, especially, was such aggressive gameplay. She was so impressive the entire 2 weeks. Just kept impressing. Generally, I hate to be repetitive, but just kept impressing every single match that she went on, and then she just wins it. And I feel really bad that it didn't count for any points, but
that's
say
atrocious.
Elena Rybakina is a Grand Slam winner is surprising.
Yeah,
but
I was playing tennis at my local club, and then they have the smoothie bar, and there's like this TV kind of above it, and I was walking out, I was leaving, and I was like, oh, Wimbledon's on, and I saw it, and I was like, hang on. Hang on. This game is going in an interesting direction right now.
Yeah. But I mean, if we want to talk about surprising, I don't think anything beats surprising more than Nick Kyrgios, Wimbledon finalist.
Okay, well, hold on. The men's Wimbledon as a whole is like a whole thing, but like Nick as a runner up. Yeah.
Man, I'm so this frustrates me even more that there were no points up for grabs, because imagine how much he would have shot up in the rankings if he had the finalist points awarded to him.
He's been fishing around for that ranking shot up in his career.
Also, I mean, Novak versus Nick was something. It was a really, really great match. I remember watching that match. That first set, Nick played it so well. Again, what's so hard about Nick is his serve. You can't predict. His serve looks uniform. It looks like the same thing every time. Like, where he tosses the ball, everything is the same pretty much until contact, until that ball's coming at you. And it's coming at you so fast that it's hard to react appropriately.
Right, yeah. Like, he's a tall, strong guy. You know, that ball's moving, at you with incredible momentum. And not to mention, I think another really big strength of his is that he's not afraid at all to experiment on the court.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, people kind of, like, make fun of him for this sometimes. But honestly, like, he has, like, incredible, like, dexterity. And he'll, like, throw things out, Like, he's a very out-of-left-field kind of player. And he can, like, use that, in matches to his advantage. It's playing against him would be really scary for those reasons alone,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna speak on who I was rooting for or whatnot, but I think just they put on a really, really great match.
They did,
and it was entertaining. It was, I think, everything that we could have hoped for. Maybe could have hoped for a bit more, like a fifth set. But I think, again, testament to Novak and how good he is. It's hard when you have one of the best servers. I mean, again, what I've talked about with Nick's serve is placement. He's so good at placing the ball exactly where he wants it to. And that's so crucial when it comes to being a good server. And you have one of the top servers, and then you have arguably one of the best returns in men's tennis, period. Novak just... There's a loss for words for how good it was. Like, I really, really enjoyed that Wimbledon final.
No, that was really good. I remember also really liking the Fritz Nadal game that we keep somehow bringing up. That happened earlier in the tournament. But yeah, to kind of move on to our next major, the U.S. Open.
Yeah. If we want to talk about next gen.
Yep.
There you go. Let's start with the men's singles finals. Alcaraz defeats Ruud.
Wow.
Yeah.
the whole like semis were a wow, and then it's incredible to have seen Carlos win. I'm just going to say it.
No, I agree.
And oh my goodness.
It was very, I mean, when you even get to the quarterfinals, were very unexpected where they stood.
Right, yeah.
Kyrgios loses to Khachanov. Where did Karen Khachanov come out of? We don't know. Berrettini, Sinner, Rublev,
Yeah.
all semifinalists, say all quarterfinalists, semifinals. Francis Tiafoe, just enough said.
Oh.
I mean, no, sorry, not enough said. Just there's not enough words to describe how awesome it was to watch him make that run.
No,
He's
it was
worked
incredible,
so hard
yeah.
over the last few years, and his game is really, really fun to watch. Such a dynamic player.
Yeah.
A little bit wacky form, but fun wacky.
And at least he's making it work for him, you know? I mean, he did not this was not a momentum based, you know, game that he lost to Alcaraz in. He won, you know, the first, lost two, and then won another, you know, before eventually losing in the fifth. It was like he's a fighter, you know, and he has like this like wacky form, but he can use it to fight. And I'm excited to see. I want him to be here next year. I want him to be there next year. If not him, then maybe like Fritz or like another American.
An
player.
American.
Yeah. I think the U.S. Open needs more American presence.
Let's bring it back to the reminder that the last time an American man won the U.S. Open was 2003, and it was Andy Roddick, who's now retired. I agree.
And has spent the rest of his career watching other people win.
I think in the same way that it was really, really awesome for the British crowd to see Andy Murray win and for the Australian crowd to see Ash Barty win. The French and American crowds, I think they are just waiting and craving for somebody from their country to win that respective major.
Yeah. Oh my god.
The French have been waiting a dog's year.
They have been.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time a French woman won the French Open was either Mary Pierce or Emily Mauresmo, which was the early 2000s. Last time a French man won it was Yannick Noah in the 80s, I want to say.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's been a very long time. As for the Americans, the last time an American woman won when was the last time Serena won? 2015,
right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Sloane Stephens won in 2015.
Oh yeah.
Or 2014. 2014.
It was one of them.
15 was Panetta.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, the All-Itallian final.
Oh.
Oh gosh, we need to go. Right. We need to do a tennis history episode, I think. But
yeah,
I mean, we mentioned the women, so let's go to the women. Iga Swiatek beats Ons Jabeur. I think a very fitting final.
I was about to say that final was, you know, I mean, but the men's was like sort of like new faces, but women's was kind of textbook. You know, these are our top two players going head to head.
What excites me is the thought that Swiatek and Jabeur can become a rivalry. Because to watch that go down would be so much fun.
That would be.
We mentioned it before.
That would be fun.
Well Iga's game counters Jabeur's, but I think what would be really fun is to watch that rivalry unfold. And what happens in rivalries is one player, like the players, kind of figure each other out.
Yeah.
And then when you get to meeting like number 5, then you're at a point where they kind of understand each other's games, and now it's a matter of who's going to do better to counter the other.
Sure,
it's really, really fun to watch.
No, those are great.
We watched that with Roger and Rafa. We've watched that with Serena and Azarenka, or Serena and Sharapova. I mean, we've watched that with, even to go older, I mean, Agassi and Sampras. I mean, it's so much fun to watch rivalries unfold because it's kind of like you don't know who's. It's like a game of tug of war, and you don't know who's going to come out on top. At the moment, it's Iga, but for all we know, like later on down the line, if they keep meeting each other in these big moments, Jabeur can figure out Iga's game, and maybe she'll come out on top once. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's so fun about rivalries. And I think to see these two very likable faces go into a rivalry, and let's bring Coco into the mix and make it a three-way rivalry, it would be so much fun to watch that unfold.
They all have such different play styles, too. It's like rock, paper, scissors, if you will.
Let's go for overall year. I mean, honestly, I think standout, one man, one woman standout for the year. I think we can delve more into that next week, but to end it off, one standout, man, woman, go for it. I think the easy one, let's start with women.
Iga. Iga.
Just, yeah. I think we said it multiple times on the podcast. Why Iga? Just Iga. Thank you.
Just Iga. And,
for the
Fritz.
men's, you know what?
I'm saying Taylor Fritz.
I was going to go there as well.
Because, okay, do we even need to explain ourselves?
Go for it if you want to. I think what's been really awesome about watching Fritz was just how awesome of a year he's had.
Yeah, oh my God.
I mean, it's been a really breakout year for him. He's always been kind of a constant on the tour. But then to get that first Masters 1000s win, to really push forward. But I'm going to counter you, and I'm going to say Carlos Alcaraz, because it was a huge breakout year for him. Two Masters,
undoubtedly.
2 Masters 1000s and a Grand Slam
and world year and
number one. I mean, it's been a hell of a year for him, and I think I hate to be so basic as to call out the 2 number ones, but I think there's a reason why they sit there right now.
There 100% is, and they haven't sat there before. Yeah. I don't know. I think the reason I said Fritz over Alcaraz is because I thought that Alcaraz would and could go there, you know. But if you talked to me like a year and a half ago, you know, about like Fritz doing as well as he did this year, I'd be like, huh, really? I mean, but like now he is, you know, he's there, and so that's why he came to mind first.
And to make his first tour finals as well was a big moment for him.
But I do agree on Alcaraz though. He has been extraordinary this year.
But I guess the rest of the year in review, and I don't know, maybe some more is to come next week. So we'll catch you guys next week.
Goodbye.